Depravity can be interpreted by one as an objectively evil act of moral corruption. Most people choose to ignore the depraved acts of man that have occurred since the beginning of recorded history. The following artworks are paragons for explicitly demonstrating the vicious, inhumane acts people have committed throughout history. The first of these artworks I want to examine is titled The Hanging and is known as La Pendaison in French. This work is an etching by the French Baroque artist Jacques Callot. In 1633, La Pendaison was included as a part of a series of prints called Les Grandes Misères de la Guerre, French for The Great Miseries of War. Les Grandes Misères de la Guerre depicted scenes from the 30 Years' War, a war mainly fought between Protestant and Catholic forces in Western Europe. This war was especially brutal and led to several million deaths, most of which were civilian casualties. All of the prints in Les Grandes Misères de la Guerre depict the cruelty and torture that militaristic forces imposed on civilian populations. Callot used etching, a process in which the artist creates a design on a metal plate that is printed onto paper using ink and a printing press. Callot's prints were part of the Baroque period, and this piece is a noteworthy example of some Baroque ideals because the goal of the work is to invoke emotions through dramatic image. This specific piece is the most well-known print in this series and depicts a mass hanging execution site. Hanging trees are a notorious part of Western public execution and were used to instill fear into the public viewers. The hanging tree in the foreground has over 20 people hanging from nooses. This piece is highly detailed for such a small image. The image is only 8.3 centimeters by 18 centimeters. Callot's preferred method of creating art was through etching, which is why he mastered such a fine detail in his works. Although this piece is monochrome in color, the excellent use of thicker lines helped create the illusion of light and shadow as seen from a distance. Callot does an amazing job showing the depravity of man during times of war through his eyes. Underneath the etch, it explains that the executed men were thieves. However, this explanation can make the viewer question the morality of these men and priests as seen in the image. It seems that they value worldly possessions greater than they do human lives. The second artwork I would like to demonstrate is an oil painting aptly named 3rd of May, 1808. In Spanish, it is called El 3 de Mayo de 1808 en Madrid, painted by Spanish Romantic artist Francisco Goya. Goya's artwork focuses on a brutal scene between Spanish captives in the process of being executed by aggressive French military forces on the 3rd of May in 1808. Goya released this oil painting in 1814 as a dedication to the Spanish lives lost due to the French army in the Peninsular War. The 3rd of May of 1808 depicts the stark contrast between the terror-stricken Spanish captives on the left side of the canvas and the unforgiving French executioners on the right. This work is considered graphic as it depicts the piled corpses of the executed. The executed were suspected accomplices in the Spanish rebellion against the French army's occupation of Spain on the previous day. These individuals faced merciless execution in public without a trial or any way to protest their innocence. These actions prove the willingness of men to commit atrocious acts unto others as seen from Goya's perspective. Goya had previously created a painting of the Spanish rebellion efforts set in the day before this painting occurs, titled The 2nd of May, 1808. El segundo de mayo de 1808 en Madrid, in Spanish. Goya released this painting a couple of months before El 3 de Mayo was released. Some romantic characteristics are present in this piece and include the interest of illustrating human emotion as seen in the facial expressions filled with terror in the captives, humanitarian themes that invoke a want for freedom and liberty, and the intent to examine society through art. This contemporary piece also reflects the renewed interest in melancholic and emotional theme artwork that was part of the Romanticism movement in art history. Francisco Goya's artistic legacy lasted several years, and throughout the years, his artwork seemed to have progressed into themes that delineate as melancholy. Goya's work seemed to take a darker turn during his stay in Madrid during the Peninsular War. After the war, Goya created many works that dealt with darker themes. The previously mentioned artist, Jacques Callot, is believed to have inspired a set of prints by Goya detailing more heinous depictions of war. In the 1810s, Goya created a similar series of etches like Les Grandes Misères de la Guerre, called The Disasters of War, Los Desastres de la Guerra, in Spanish. Thank you for taking the time to learn a little about the depictions of depravity in art. Many artworks depict horrific behaviors, but these were just a couple that piqued my interest. Thanks for watching.